Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first EMEA live demo and webinar today on the Cloud SIEM. I'm just going to give it 30 seconds for a few people to join the webinar, and then we'll begin. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Colin Fernandes, and I'm the EMEA Product Marketing Director for Sumo Logic. I'm very excited also to have Challis join me today. A bit of housekeeping for today. It's a 30-minute session, so I just want to set the tone in terms of positioning and really focusing on the demo and then summarizing this quick webinar for you today. We move on, Alex. So I'd like to set the scene. As we're focusing on security, I want to really home in on a couple of statistics that are very important for us to address here today. Some of you are very familiar with the Ponemon Institute, and there was a report in 2019 that talked about the cost of a data breach. The statistics here today really talk about an average. And in total, if you actually add up the number of days, it takes a fairly long time to address and identify and contain a breach. An example was the University of Maryland, Clark School, where they found that there was a constant attack where the systems were being attacked every 39 seconds. The setup was weak. It was relying on a legacy stack. And obviously the hackers were attempting, and they managed to get into the system. And they also actually set up configuration so that they could actually go back in and really attack this organization. So it's important to reflect here in terms of the cost and in terms of managing, identifying, and containing an attack. We move on. The second is really the average cost of a breach. If we look at these examples here, and look at some of the recent announcements and indications of breaches that are occurring in our world today, it's important to recognize the cost. Cost is attributed to brand and reputation. So it's important to understand that we want to address these issues and help our customers with their security and compliance needs today. We move on, Alex. So security must change, and I want to focus on three key pillars. The first one is really around cloud transformation. And if we look at transformation today, spending has increased in terms of cloud migration and cloud modernization over 6 times. Legacy security tools weren't built for the cloud. So current solutions present really technology limitations that we're hearing today from our customers and partners. It's important to actually understand these security gaps and try and actually close those gaps to drive better visibility into the organization. The second is the shift in the threat landscape. Modern apps, complex stacks, very complex distributed ecosystems, what I call perimeterless borders. And if we look at the growth in devices, applications, microservices, and cloud, the attack surfaces are increasing. And thirdly, security operations is no longer a human scale problem. And what I mean by this is that there are just too many alerts. We are seeing significant data growth at the edge in the data center, and too many alerts. And the number of people that need to investigate this is not increasing. So processes become slower and more inefficient. For example, it takes one day to create a dashboard to reflect one metric from just one tool. So I ask you, just think about the number of tools you have, the number of signals that are being emitted today, and understand these 3 points. So what we want to do is really recognize this gap and try and bring to market a new way, a new unique way of addressing these issues through a modern SaaS SIEM. We move on, Alex. And I want to focus on 3 key areas. As I mentioned, I'm excited that Alex is here to actually show you the demonstration of our solutions, but it focuses on 3 key areas. I often get asked is, what is your unique differentiator? So we talk about a modern, true SaaS, multi-tenanted SIEM. 3 key areas: built, born and bred on a cloud native architecture. One platform, unified for security, operations, and development. Cloud provider agnostic, supporting native clouds and a multi-cloud environment. And the most important thing is to be economically delivering value at scale, to collect, analyze, and correlate a diverse set of sources. The second is really based around automation, automating the triaging and really converting that data to actionable insights. Automated threat enrichment, providing out-of-the-box security content for hundreds of partners. It's not about the building, it's about the delivery and the value that you get. And lastly, to focus on automation is to really look at the application, observe the application, and understand the multi-tenant knowledge that is needed today in the cloud. And lastly, really looking at a modern user interface, highly tuned, a modern UI built for security analysts and for security professionals to streamline that data for the SecOps analyst and to address automation through workflows. Collaboration is critical. I hear many people today talking about the shift left movement. Security is not just operations, but it's important to reflect security and compliance for the whole of the organization. And lastly, augmenting analytics to distill the insights from large volumes of data. We move on, Alex. So as I mentioned, a single platform, multiple use cases, really driving the notion of the continuous intelligence platform. Today, we deliver our solutions to over 2,000 customers. All these customers rely on Sumo for their log storage, the unification of logs, metrics, and traces, to provide extensive search and querying, and investigate analytics, and really provide that modernized context of what we're looking at. And the importance, as I mentioned before, is about the unification of a solution. And today, Alex is going to show us the cloud native SIEM on how we automate and triage and prioritize, aggregate the breadth and scale, and provide that greater enrichment for our users, and really show the out-of-the-box and workflow investigation process, and really bring to you this modern user interface that is helping many, many customers today. Move on. So as I mentioned, over 2,000 customers and growing. We're very excited to really see our customers embrace the SIEM. So an example here are use cases from security, from really driving that automated cloud SIEM to compliance, and really look at the continuous aspect of security. So companies like Sega, Pokemon, USA Today, Gannett, airlines, we actually provide solutions in many, many industries. So please do visit our website and contact us if you want to hear more about the use cases and value that we're delivering today. We move over. So to summarize, in order to place the next demo that Alex will show you, is to just summarize our unique benefits. Correlation-based threat detection at scale and driving an economic model that suits many customers today. Automate the detection and the triaging and the conversion of these security alerts into actionable insights for better automation. It's about the application, the network, the user, and any entity and any object in context of the threat that's being investigated. And again, it's ease of use, highly tuned user interface that's built by analysts for analysts. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Alex to walk you through this very quick demo of Sumo Logic's Cloud SIEM. Alex? Oh, maybe I'll just cover this very briefly. You go first. Okay.
Okay, thanks very much, Colin. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this is our inaugural Cloud SIEM Enterprise demo, something we obviously expect to be doing on a regular basis. So what you see on the screen here is our full security analysts interface. This is what we call the head-up display. This is, I guess, you know, one of the views that many of our customers would show on the video wall within their security operations center, and this provides the SOC a bird's eye view of what's currently happening within Cloud SIEM Enterprise. So what we'll start with here is these statistics in the top left-hand corner. So what the system's doing is it's retrieving your security data from the Sumo data lake. It's then parsing and then normalizing that data into what we call records. And as you can see here in the period that we're currently looking at, the 1-day period, we're receiving somewhere around about 3 million raw records from the data lake. These records are then turned into what we term signals, and signals are essentially contextually enriched alerts. So they're the original security events, the detections, which we've decorated with additional context and metadata to improve the overall analyst's experience. The way the signals are generated is very similar to all of the legacy SIEMs on the market, and it's through a rule engine, and the output of that rule engine is a signal, and other vendors might call these notable events or maybe correlations or alerts. So just to be clear on the terminology, we call these signals. And importantly, what you have to understand is that, first of all, correlation has always been about data reduction. It's about helping find the needle in the haystack. The trouble is today, a simple correlation-based, a simple rules-based approach really doesn't provide the data reduction necessary to streamline security operations. And this is really what's leading to this concept of alert fatigue. Now, the bad news is, Unfortunately, the legacy SIEMs that you guys are using out there today, they stop here. They stop at the signal generation or the correlation or notable event level, whatever you want to call them. And as you can see, we're getting a pretty formidable data reduction. We're sifting down 3 million raw records to somewhere around about 115,000 signals, but there's no way in the world you'd want your SOC to be working through 115,000 signals on a daily basis. However, this is the reality in many SOCs. There are too many signals, there are too many correlated events for the SOC to look through in any one day. And in essence, this is what's leading to the concept of alert fatigue. So the good news is, this is where Cloud SIEM Enterprise adds an additional layer. We call them insights, and the purpose of these insights is to provide the analyst with some actionable insight into those signals. And as you can see, the insight layer has whittled down those 115,000 detections, those signals, down to just 6 simple insights, which is far more manageable for a SOC to deal with on a day-to-day basis. In the middle of the screen here, what you see is essentially the charting of these 3 metrics. So the insight radar, as we call it, is showing the raw record ingest rates over the period of time that you're looking at. And clearly in any SOC, you become familiar with the ebb and flow of data as you go through the business day. And you expect a peak of data at the beginning of the business day and then a tail off towards the end of the business day. So this is all about obviously providing the analyst, the SOC, with an indication that the data is being received correctly. The middle line, or the middle histogram, is where we chart the signals that have been correlated from that raw record data. And then on the inside, the red circle here is surrounded by a number of triangles, and each of these triangles represents an insight. And as you can see, you mouse over and get the time period of each insight, as well as you can see the status. So the red insights represent new insights. They've not been worked on by an analyst and a pending action. The orange insights are insights that are being worked on currently in the SOC. And then finally, the green insights show you insights that have been worked on through the SOC and the incident has been remediated or mitigated. On the far right-hand side here, what you see is the most recent insight that's fired. So the insight itself, as you can see from its name, obviously contains the word insight, but it also contains an insight ID. In this particular example, we have obviously insight 1260. And then the name of the insight is actually derived from the underlying signals that are collected together as part of this insight. So as we can see, in this summary card format, we are summarizing or collecting together 5 signals. The priority of those signals is charted over time in this little crosshair you see here. So as we can see on the 29th of August here, this is when this particular insight started with a low and slow event. So this is obviously quite common, attacker, threat actor modus operandi. They try and fly under the radar. The threat actor then goes away for a period of time, and right at the far side of the insight, we can see here the 3 signals, which are all correlated in short succession as the threat actor was in essence executing their attack. So as you can see, this provides a really nice summary to analysts of the most recent event. The other information you see in the insight title are derived from the MITRE attack tactics that the underlying signals represent. So as we can see in this particular example here, we have some initial access with execution, and then some further credential access and discovery. The way insights collect together signals is based on a shared entity relationship. So we see here in this particular insight, the IP address 192.168.38.106. That is the entity. An entity might be a user, or it might be a device, as it is obviously a device IP here, but it could equally be a device host name. And the underlying signals are combined, deduplicated, and combined to produce this overall severity of the underlying insight. Okay, so what we'll take a look at next is where your analysts are going to spend the majority of their working day, which is working through these insights. And so the insights are collected together in a couple of different views. So this view here is one that your SOC manager would probably use. It allows you to see where each insight is in terms of the remediation cycle. So you can choose the phases that are represented here out of the box. As you can see, the new insights are labeled new. As a SOC manager, maybe I'd want to look through what we had in the queue and then selectively take insights from that queue and move them across to another queue, so that obviously the relevant team can begin working upon those. The other view that's available here, which analysts might use, allows them obviously to get an overview, sorted overview, in this case sorted by time, but you can obviously also sort by severity of all of the outstanding insights. And this provides you, as you can see here, with a good example of some of the data that we're enriching and some of the statistics that we provide. So the first insight we see at the top here, a dwell time of 5 hours. So dwell time is in essence the time between the first signal, which makes up an insight, and then the final signal, which caused the insight to be correlated, to be generated. The other information you can see is obviously the insight name, the mapping back to MITRE attack tactics, obviously the severity, the underlying entities, the asset involved in the particular insight. And as I said earlier, that can either be a device identifier or a user identifier that you can see in this second insight here. Finally, just to take a very quick look at the detail. So, I beg your pardon. Go back. The detail of the insight itself. So as we see here, we have information on the left-hand side about the status of the insight. So as I'm going to start working on this, I'm going to assign it to myself and tell my teammates in the SOC that I'm working on it. I have some of that basic information available that describes the insight. And then finally, at the bottom here, I can leave some notes again, so that my colleagues understand that I'm working on this particular insight. It might be as I begin working on the insight, I decide I want to escalate it maybe through an external workflow system or out to a security orchestration and remediation system. As I begin working through the insight, you may obviously work the insight to remediation, and then obviously the final step that you have is to close out the insight, where, as you can see here, we use this to keep some basic statistics about the efficacy of the resolution process. So in this particular case, this one was resolved, and then let's say we've recovered the account. Okay, so I'm going to hand back to you now, Colin, and thank you everyone for listening.
Thanks, Alex. That was wonderful. We're going to come on to answer some of the Q&As. So Alex, could you take a look at some of the Q&As, the questions that are in the window? Just to close off the first webinar today, it's a community that we're building with Sumo. and really wanting to share that best practice, success, and really innovation. So we have a team of spec ops that provide a focused way to deliver our solutions and help you onboard some of the capabilities that Alex has demonstrated to you. We also provide professional services. We believe that it should be quick, easy, and ready to go, and really manageable for day one and day two of operations. And lastly, we offer different types of support packages to help you with your requirements and needs. So we move to the next page, Alex.
So, Colin, I don't think I can open the Q&A.
Okay, so let me ask, so there's a question, if I can just pose that. There were 3 questions. So the first one is enterprise security or the suite, how would we calculate the cost for budget planning? We would start this with a new infrastructure, so no historical information about log sizes. Do you have anything to say on that, Alex?
So in terms of obviously sizing, the Cloud SIEM Enterprise is a cloud native service, so it's elastic and will scale to whatever load essentially that you present to the service. And then in terms of billing for that service, it's based on a credits-based approach.
Excellent. I'm going to take the next question. Do you support cloud-specific entities, AWS, instances, containers? Yes, we do. So basically, we support data, unstructured, semi-structured, structured from AWS, from most clouds. So really serving all the services that these providers offer. And also really looking at the areas around containers. And something that we're bringing to town is the integration, not only of security, but of observability. We believe that availability, monitoring, and security should be unified to really drive that centralized platform and deliver that capability to you. There's the other one that I'm going to just ask and have Alex, talk about. Is there any SLA support on this, Alex? Hello, Clive.
I'm back. Sorry. Yes.
In the QA, there's just a couple of questions at the end. Any SLA support? Any PS available in EMEA? And the product that we were showing today was the Cloud SIEM Enterprise from Sumo Logic.
Yes.
So if you could take that, Clive, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
sure, absolutely. Thanks for that, Colin. So yes, there is a defined SLA. We will not share it on the webinar, but certainly we have multiple nines SLA as far as availability is concerned with Sumo. And we also have a search SLA with regards to our return search and the performance of the platform. So in answer to that question, yes, there is an SLA. Yes, we do provide PS. That's a fundamental part of our offering. And the PS is offered in conjunction with our customer success team. So being a cloud platform, we take our PS and our customers and the success of our customers as a first-class citizen and a first-class concern. So yes, we have a comprehensive PS offering as part of the platform. And yes, PS is available in EMEA. And it is based in EMEA out of London and Poland. So you will be speaking to somebody within your local time zone as well. Any other questions, or have I missed anything?
Yeah, Clive, there was another one to maybe you and Alex. Can we add our own entities and import of any kind using the SIEM as an asset registry for analysts and tie signals and insights to entities?
Yeah, absolutely. So, so everything I showed you today is backed by a full REST API, and you can use that REST API, for example, to achieve what you just asked.
And lastly, is there an agent to install on host to collect records?
Great question again. It really depends on the log source. We have both what we call an installed collector, which would typically be for receiving data, collecting data from on-premise environments. So that would be a small piece of software running on a system or systems on-premise. And then finally, for, if you like, a truly agentless cloud-to-cloud type collection, we have what we call a hosted collector, which will reach out either to SaaS or infrastructure type clouds and retrieve data through APIs.
Yeah,
So,
and let me just add one other caveat to that as well. Not a caveat, really, just another point. We do support open source collection sources as well. So if you have FluentD or CollectD, not only obviously time series metrics, but also raw log data if that's a transport mechanism of choice.
so we've got two more questions. I'd rather do these last two and then close the webinar off, because I know people need to get to their next meeting. Just a couple for you guys. Just a bit about attestations and what we support. So could you make a comment on privacy and all the attestations and certifications that we have? And lastly, a bit on import and export with APIs. So how do we comply with security privacy standards today? PCI, ISO. Could you take that one, Clive?
Yeah, I'll take that one, and then I'll leave the next one to you, Alex. So yes, we are unique. I mean, we take security as a first-class citizen within our platform. So we do comply with ISO 27001, PCI 3.2, unique to ourselves in relation to other vendors in this space, and a whole litany of other compliance mandates and attestations. If you are going to adopt Sumo Logic, we have a compliance portal where you can sign on to Sumo and actually see a lot of those attestations in situ. And we're very transparent about how we've attained our various different compliance mandates, and we have a comprehensive security framework around our platform. So we're quite proud of that. And as a cloud vendor, you can imagine that we take your data security as a first-class citizen. Ultimately, it's a fundamental premise of our platform.
And on APIs, Alex, I think you talked, you touched on that. So we provide APIs, for import and export.
Yeah, absolutely. The entire system is built on write as well as read REST-based APIs. So everything that you saw in the UI can be accessed programmatically.
Thank you so much.
And we support, I just wanted to add, we also support Open API as a standard within our platform. So we have an API first methodology and mentality within Sumo. So to Alex's point, from head to toe, most of our platforms accessible via API.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Alex. Thank you, Clive. I want to end. I think the last question will be answered. So if we just move to the final screen. A call to action is please reach out to Sumo Logic. We'll provide you with an email address. This is our first webinar. We're trying it out. So thank you for all the 36 participants today. That was a great Q&A. We are also offering, to do this quite frequently with our technical community. So look out for the next live demo. We're also fortunate that in early October, we will be running our global customer conference called Illuminate 2020. And some of our customers that I shared and talked about today will be presenting their use cases. So it's going to be an exciting event that you can register for. It's going to be virtual, but what you'll hear is about the innovation, the best practices, and how people are using our solutions in SIEM. And lastly, we have a resource center that's rich with blogs, white papers, and solutions. So with that, I want to end this webinar and thank the team and the participants, and please do reach out to us, and thank you for your time today, and have a great day. Thank you.